There is a massive pressure in zoos generally to present animals. I'm not really prepared to do that, to be honest. What happens here is we work together. We certainly don't get, you must see this every minute of the day. But I want people to see the animals. We don't want an animal in a shed. It's not natural to be in a shed. As long as the weather's right, the conditions are right, it wants to be outside. No animal lives naturally in a shed, as far as I'm aware. I've not heard of many. My name is Jamie Craig and I am the head of the East section. Got a diverse area with primates, birds, small mammals and some large mammals as well. As a child I had this strange Rain Man type ability at aged about 5 or 6 to memorise everything that I ever saw about animals, and because I've been given this big book of British birds and I can name all of it, the scientific names, everything. And we also used to get these little cards, I don't know if it was cigarettes or biscuit packets, and I remember I got given one with an eye on it, and I'd never heard of an eye, and at 5 I probably thought myself quite an authority on animals, and it just fascinated me forever. And then you go for your teenage years where it's not necessarily the most glamorous thing to go on and on, particularly when you're trying to chat up women, to go on and on about eye collectors cards and but memorising British birds. So you you drift out a little bit, but then you soon realise what you want to do, and you drift back in, and then you don't care anymore what other people think. OK, well, what seems to be going on in here this morning is I had a report there's a couple of little injuries on the Aleoctron gentle lemurs. What seems to have happened is, because the female's fairly new, I think probably she's coming into season, the male's been unusually interested in her, and there's just been a few scuffles. She has got a little nick on her cheek, which we will keep an eye on and we sort of monitor closely, but at the moment it all seems pretty settled. Lemurs as a group, they're all quite basic, really. They're not fantastically intelligent, certainly for primate species. The most important thing is they only are found on Madagascar. So really how they've evolved from that, what defines them as lemurs, is whatever role needed to be filled within Madagascar, there is generally a lemur that has evolved to fill that role. We've currently got 6 species of lemur, ranging really from the ones you see quite commonly in zoos, the ringtails, the blacks and the black and whites, to the odder species like the mongoose lemurs and the Aleoctron gentle lemurs. Very soon we're picking up a crowned Sifaka, which is a very rare species, both in zoos and in the wild. I hope we can do a bit of research and do some good work with that species.
Okay. I'm Tim Miles, and I'm the head gardener here at the Cotswold Wildlife Park, and I've been here for 9 years now. Well, our latest very exciting project here is Madagascar, as we're calling it. And it's basically a walk-through exhibit for lemurs, so the visitors, public, will be able to walk through the exhibit from one end to the other, and the lemurs will be playing and eating and doing their lemur things.
Madagascar was originally the idea of Jamie. He came to us about a year ago from Blackpool Zoo. Soon after, he came to me with the idea for an area that he knew we were looking to develop.
The new exhibit we're planning is a very large enclosed area of about, I suppose, 60 by about 40 metres, probably with a height of about, I don't know, it goes up to probably about maybe 7 metres maximum.
How does the top look then? That's going to work in all right, is it?
This is probably the biggest development that I've been involved in. I wouldn't see it as adventurous, but then I'm an ambitious and optimistic person.
We'll enter the exhibit through this safety cage here and swing around to this side, where we go through another safety gate here, and we'll come into an area which is surrounded with bamboo and other vegetation. That'll then take us through to the Aleoctron gentle lemurs here, and that's an important conservation exhibit to kick off the whole Madagascar theme. Then through here we have the Sifaka exhibit, and you can already see this is landscaped, and you can appreciate we've taken the grass all the way through, the plants on the outside and the inside links together, and the idea is to blur the cage and enclosures so you can't really see the mesh. Then we'll come through to this archway we've created with these two stumps and this large log across the top. And you can see we've got this vine plant on it, which is making it already very mature. We're hoping the lemurs will use this for walking across and be able to actually get quite close to them. It should be quite spectacular up there. I'm quite lucky here, I think, to be involved in so many different matters that go on at the park. And one of the great things here is that we can think about getting horticulture in at the beginning of the proceedings. And that's quite unlike many zoos, actually, where the horticultural side is often considered the poor relation. And some would say that the horticultural side at the park has too much emphasis here. I know that's sometimes a bone of contention with the keeping staff, but it's getting the landscape to work in with the animals and to create that visitor experience that we're all trying to achieve. I think that'll do for the minute. We'll have a look at that when we move that lace hysteria, because that'll want to go, way. I would say, the other way, Chris, for
okay,
now.
As long as I don't fall off. Ouch.
So I think we probably want, yeah, a bit further along.
Bit further along?
Yeah. That's too far. A bit back the other way. With an enclosure like Madagascar, there are challenges regarding selection of plants because, first of all, we don't want to poison the animals. That's a sort of fairly golden rule for zoo horticulturalists. And thereafter, we want plants that are going to be able to survive the duress, if you like, of being in with various animals. And often we won't use a very wide palette of plants because in a natural situation, you might often see acres upon acres, hundreds of square miles of the same plant in nature. It's looking good. Of course, it's very difficult to grow plants from Madagascar in the middle of the Cotswolds. So it's more about trying to give a sense of the feel of the habitat which the animals come from. So in the case of Madagascar there, it's a fairly lush, jungly sort of feel. Right, it's this area here towards the exit, Jamie, I wanted to talk to you about. We've got this mound of sort of subsoil built up here. How would you see us using this in terms of the animals?
Almost if we left it as this, maybe turfed it, and then on the top of that, use some rocks or something to just give us a feeding platform. And also just to begin with, really, the thing that we're going to concentrate on in the walkthrough area will be the ringtails and the black lemurs. These are species I've worked with mixed together in other collections. We've also got a pair of black and white rough lemurs, quite an old pair and a non-breeding pair, but I'd imagine that, you know, they'll start utilising their own areas, so they're going in. We've also got a couple of bird species that aren't strictly endemic to Madagascar, but they breed there and they do very well there. And we're trying to tell a story of, in the limited way we can, within a sort of controlled area, of just a few of the species you find. Right, Chris, what we're looking for in here really is just the birds that need to come out prior to going into Madagascar. Mm-hmm. It means we're not putting them in Madagascar too late when the lemurs already know what's theirs and are going to target anything new in the exhibit.
If I get a chance, I'm just going to net it.
OK. Then shall I go after the other one?
Yeah.
OK.
We'll see what happens.
I've got mine.
I've got one more done.
OK.
Now remind me, because I get confused with all these lemurs you're introducing. Are the Sifaka, they're ground dwelling, are they?
No, this is a Sifaka, so it's a totally arboreal species. They're up in the trees. They move just by jumping, really, naturally. They can jump in the wild, sort of 9-metre spans quite easily. A Sifaka, it's a fairly large lemur, weighing sort of up to 4 kilos, but they're the ones that you've ever seen a TV programme with them bouncing along the floor with the arms out and the tail sort of waving. So for the average layman, that is a Sifaka. Big, white, bouncy lemur.
So their diet is foliage generally, is it, or fruit as well?
Well, in the wild it would be almost all foliage, so yeah, leaves mainly. As a gardener, I know in the past that's not been your favourite type of animal, but yeah, we can really get them eating the acacia. Yeah. It's perfectly recreating the natural diet.
I hope your Sifakas are going to appreciate this.
They should do. I should think they'll be used to it.
Because you just want a trailer load?
Yeah, a trailer load and sort of essentially sort of bits like that. We are preparing all of the acacia that we picked yesterday. And then what we're going to do is bag it all up and then put it in the freezer so that we've got a store of it ready for the Sifaka. We're making sure that the leaves are They're slightly wilted so that when we freeze it, it doesn't damage the leaves. We're unsure as yet how much he's going to eat. We're hoping that a bag of this acacia should last probably 2 weeks, but again, we're not sure. We don't know how greedy he is, or I haven't seen the diet sheet yet, so I should imagine it's going to last a week or two, one of these bagfuls.
Well, today we are driving about 10 hours to Scotland to get the ferry across to Belfast Zoo to pick up a Sifaka. And I'm going to get back on the ferry and I'm going to drive back from Scotland and introduce it to its exhibit. So it's a great day for us. I'm not particularly looking forward to the journey, I have to admit, but you know, it's great for the animal because we can monitor that animal then on the way down. Whereas if it flew across, there'd be a certain period of time where that animal is just in a sky kennel and we can't really see what's going on. So it's not so bad for the Sifaka because he's only coming one way. Louise, have you got the animal transport documents for the Sifaka?
Excellent, yep. Here we go. Have you sorted out...
If it wasn't such a long journey, I would be absolutely boiling over with enthusiasm. That's everything? Yeah. But yeah, really looking forward to it, getting the animal in and settled in, and then getting on with the rest of the Madagascar development.
Exotic gardening, for me, is the pinnacle of horticulture. It's just ultimate theatre, I think, with plants. And it's a way of really creating, I suppose, almost paradise, if you like, in the garden. Just seems a natural way to garden to me. I'm a bit of an extrovert, a bit of a show-off at heart, really. And to hear people going, wow, look at that, is just the ultimate. It's quite interesting when you look at the different reasons that the staff feel why the park is here and why indeed they work here. And one of the strong reasons is, particularly from the keeper side aspect, conservation. And from my point of view, I feel it's important initially that we're able to entertain people so they can feel they've had a good day and will want to come back again. I think that's really important.
The trip to Belfast, we got back about probably 3 in the morning. It was just a very, very long trip. The main thing was we were able to check the Sifaka, you know, periodically in the journey to make sure he was okay. And he didn't see, we see more damage by the journey than he did. When we first bring an animal in, we'll actually put it into its night quarters, its house area, as if you'd like to call it that, and we'll leave it there for a couple of days just so it can orientate itself to where it is and start to associate an area with warmth, with water and with food. Once that's done, what we'll do then is let it out into its outside exhibit. Well, relieved it's here, really. It's been a long time planning, a long time getting the exhibit ready, and also a very long trip going to get it. So, no, it's quite rewarding, you know, having done it from start to finish, and just need him to come out now and appreciate all this expensive planting that we've put in for him, and all the effort that's gone in.
I don't think you've got one.
Bought a stuffed toy from the Belfast shop. Cup of tea?
We want a bit of rock thing over there, yeah, where that sort of one is, it's on an angle.
Right, what I'm going to do today, after yesterday's anticlimax, where we actually waited for the Sifaka to come out, I'm going to go in now with acacia, and it's something that animal relies on. Very, very good for it, and he also really does seem to like it. So what I'm going to do now is nip into the exhibit, let him know that I'm around. Come on then. Hang this up in a few places outside, see if we can tempt him out while the sun's out. Yeah, you just have to be patient, really. Very patient. Come on then. No, it's not a quality I'd actually have. I would think I was a very patient person, but there's other people that you could ask that would say, oh, well. No, it's difficult really. There's no rushing them out, although naturally I would like them to come out immediately and start leaping around. Got no option but to be patient. Oh, there he is. Here he comes.
Of course, it all comes to the crunch when the animals are released into the enclosure for the first time. It is sort of nail-biting stuff, particularly on the larger exhibits like Madagascar, because we've obviously invested quite a lot of money in the plants and man-hours and thought and love and all that sort of thing. So we're just rather hoping that Jamie's predictions, shall we say, are correct.
I'm looking at the ringtail lemurs and the black lemurs, and I'm looking at how they interact. I'm comparing it between the old enclosure, which was just an enclosed one, and I'm comparing it to this one, which is a walk-through. I would say in this enclosure, there's a lot more foraging and a lot more exploring. And in the old one, they would sort of walk around the enclosure, but not as a group. And here, they wander off. They look like they're going on, for an exploration, and they all travel in a line, and they all go out in a group. And they do a lot of things, together.
You can start to see a lot more natural behaviour and a lot more natural group structures than you ever would in a small exhibit. They can forage all day long, they can select different foods. They've been utilising a lot of the plants we put in for them without actually destroying anything. About just under a week ago now, probably about 5 days ago, we let the rings and the blacks out, ringtail lemurs and the black lemurs out, to see how they were going to utilise the exhibit. Once they were settled, we've actually now started letting the black and white ruffs out with them. The problem with the black and white ruffs is they're very much in the mould of a playground bully. They'll come out and they'll chase them. OK, so now what really we expect to see is as soon as they find where the ringtails and the black lemurs are, going by previous experience, they will chase. They do tend to come out quite keyed up. So all we really do is sort of follow from a distance and just see what's going on. And you can see the reaction of the ringtails straight away that they see the ruffs out. So the female that we've got up here, the female ringtail with the baby, this is the one that's really asserted dominance within the group. But these aren't now pursuing them as much as they were. They are now stopping and thinking about it a lot more. And certainly this is the dominant animal that's just chased them off, which is exactly what we want to see. That's the best sign probably we've had so far since they've been out. Charlotte, if you could just keep an eye on them there, just to see what they're up to. It's certainly much more of a half-hearted chasing than it was before. And it's this one, the female black and white ruff, that tends to be the main aggressor. The male he chases because she does. He's almost as if he's not exactly sure what he's doing, but... And he's certainly, luckily, not quite as agile as the rest, so they tend to leave him, as you can see, quite a bit behind, and he loses heart when they're about 10 metres away from him. I'd say another factor here may be that the ruffs have been here a long time. They're quite old animals, so they've been on diets in the past that are probably not suitable for their peak physical fitness, whereas we've had the blacks and the rings on a really good, really as natural diet as we can get, and it shows by the fitness, the agility and everything, which is why only a couple of times have these ever managed to actually catch up with any of the other species. Charlotte, if you just move away because the baby's trying to encourage them. And the babies are the most curious, so we're just trying to make sure at this stage we don't give them any option to be too curious. We don't want them sort of messing around with the public too much, although they will have got accustomed really to Charlotte being in here for the last few days and know there's no problems. We're also not expecting the public to stand still for 7 hours a day with a notebook, so...
Well, today's a really exciting day. It's the opening of Madagascar. It's sort of celebrating, really, 8 months of hard slog. Everybody's going to be there who's been involved in the project, and hopefully Reggie will bring the champagne.
Thank you, Reggie.
Well, Jamie, I tell you what, this is very much down to you.
Thank you.
If it wasn't the fact that you were here, none of this would be here, that's for sure.
I'm not going to go as far as to say you've done a good job, but
I think we've done a good job in here.
Well, from a landscape point of view, I'm really pleased with this so far. Firstly, because it's worked out really well, even better than I imagined. And secondly, that it hasn't been completely trash.
I'm quite optimistic that, apart from the banana tree, which looks like it may not never recover...
I was going to ask you about that, yeah. Hopefully it will recover, but they've taken a liking to just that one, whereas the other two they've left alone, so it's bizarre, isn't it?
No, they can reach that one, because it isn't just the taste of it, although they are eating it, they're enjoying ripping it up, so it's the textures and everything.
In the old style zoo, of course, it was very much a menagerie with rows of cages along there. And so there was no sort of looking for the animals, no sort of hunting in terms of looking to view them. And I think some people are impatient when they come to zoos. They want it on a plate, they want to be able to see it straight away. But I think it's a bit more of the fun if you can actually have to look around and work a little bit to see the animals.
Right, hello. My name's Jamie, and I'll just give you a little bit of talk about the lemurs that we've got here in this exhibit. OK, the two species you can see here are the ring-tailed lemurs, which you've probably all seen before in various places, obviously with the ringtails, and the black lemurs. We're going to be doing an educational talk in there every day to explain about the different lemur species, how Madagascar has such unique flora and fauna. So by learning about the ringtails and the more active and boisterous lemurs, we're then directing them to the lemur that at this time is most sensitive and most sort of really in imminent danger of extinction. I don't know if you saw as you came round, we also have a crowned Sifaka in an exhibit. They're one of the rarest primates in the world, which is one of the reasons they're in an exhibit and not in here. Also, there's only about 16 in captivity, probably in the world. OK, well, thanks very much for listening. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask. All of these species, when they're seen by the public, you know, that they're sort of speaking for all these animals in a precarious position in a wild state. So Madagascar has so many of these species. Everything about it really is unique, you know, from the primate species to the carnivore species to a lot of the bird species. You know, there are a lot of anti-zoo people that would say that no animal belongs in a zoo. But what I'm trying to do, you know, for my part, is to tell an important story that you can't take from a documentary and you can't take from a book. So, you know, to me, it's first-hand experience of those species. The lemurs should be around feeding and squabbling amongst themselves for a little while yet. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day at the Cotswolds. Thank you very much.